If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call and talk show all about the Wheel of Time. And we're back on a Sunday. That's right, Sunday afternoon. We haven't done a lot of these, but with the season coming, and with me sometimes out and unable to do those fun afternoon Wednesday kind of streams where we catch the news, I had to come back and do a wrap-up and have an opportunity to find out what all the fun was that everyone was having here. So I did. I did some studying the last 2 days, found out what happened, at least what I think happened. And not only that, I brought with me two guests, one of whom has been doing a deep dive into the seals on Twitter. And I made sure to bring her on the show today. So let me welcome, without further ado, my two guests today. Welcome, Sulin and Koala. How you both doing? You ready for this? Oh, thank you for starting it off with the double hand wave. I really appreciate that. Sulin, now before we jump into this, and by the way, if anyone's just joining us right now, when we say before we jump into this, what we're talking about, if you have not somehow seen this, is that the Wheel of Time dropped a little intro to Season 2 at the end of Episode 8 of Season 1. I don't know if you've all seen this. Yeah? Does this look familiar? Little girl just playing out in the yard. But we'll come back to that. We're gonna dig into that. We're gonna dig into that one here. Don't worry. We'll be covering that. But Sulin, you just started something recently called the Flickverse. Can you explain to everyone what the Flickverse is?
Yeah. So we wanted to start a Wheel of Time friendly show that was a bit more book focused and basically talking about all the what ifs. Like we've all had our theories about what will happen when the books come out, but actually just to sort of spin off and talk a little bit more.
Sorry, I was going to show that. Yeah, I know. Did you hear the intro to the show here?
Yeah.
Here, yes. This is what you're talking about here. The Flickverse. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had our first episode this week, and we talked about what would happen if all Trollocs were smart, like Nog. And I think we had a great time.
What would happen? Well, I don't want to ruin the conclusion, but what was your belief? What would happen if all the Trollocs were smart? Would they have won? Would they have already taken over the world at this point?
I feel like the books would have been both longer and shorter. My whole thing is they wouldn't have got to the two rivers at the same time. They would have been a lot later.
They would have. Why would they have got there later? Just because they were just too much infighting?
Wouldn't have gone through the waves.
I like that.
Yeah, there was lots of very silly answers and very serious answers at the same time. So we had a lot of fun, and it's a more European friendly time and sort of Asia as well. So it's just something a little bit different, which we wanted to bring to the table.
Yeah, and the next episode, for those out there who might be interested in checking this out, is what if, well, before I say this, spoilers, everyone, spoilers. We're going to go full book spoilers today in chat and here on the show. I was about to say the name is, not that it's like hugely spoiler, but yeah, if you're watching this, either listening to us talk about this or you're in chat, today's going to be a full book spoiler discussion. And yeah, this next one, like I was about to say, what if Rand killed more gays? That's the next Flickverse. So if you're in chat, mods, and you want to throw that link for anyone to be interested in checking that out, that's every Wednesday. For those in the U.S. or over on time that designations that make sense to us over here, that is at 1 p.m. Eastern, I believe. That is 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be a blast. I did see the comment that the video that I showed was a little bit low res. I'll see what I can do about fixing that. That's just, that might be the way it is. Today we'll see how that goes. So, but thankfully I uploaded all sorts of screenshots. So why don't we dig into this a little bit? But before we do, I want to remind everybody that here at the Dusty Wheel, we do stand with SAG-AFTRA and the WGA in their strikes. And if you would like to make a donation, you certainly can. Any super chats you do today, that money that we get from Google in the end will go towards a donation to the Entertainment Community Fund. That's something you can go donate to now. There'll be links in the description. If a mod's out there and has that text and can post it in chat, you can do that also. And like I said, hopefully they'll all come back to the table and make an equitable deal for everyone involved. So without further ado, let's jump into the scene. No, let's not. Let's talk about a little bit of news. I don't know if you've seen this one. This is a little bit of fun news here. So this was dropped, I want to say Friday maybe. And we got to talk about this. The Wheel of Time producers compare season 2 to Gladiator, one of the biggest battles ever. Marigo, I can't pronounce her last name properly, so I won't do it. Sanahamri open up about the Prime Video fantasy action pack second chapter. Basically says the Wheel of Time season 2 is set to feature one of the biggest battles ever, which is a quote from Marigo and Sanahamri. It will also be reminiscent of epic historical battles like Cleopatra and Gladiator 2, apparently, which has boosted our already existing excitement, according to the individual who wrote this. There are times when we had 6 cameras going at the same time. And when I met with showrunner Rafe Judkins, we talked about the vision for season 2 and about more action, more deep, nuanced character work, as well as strong imagery. How do you feel about this, Koala? One of the biggest battles ever, season 2. Is this producer hype? Is this one of the biggest battles ever as compared to fantasy television? One of the biggest battles ever as compared to battles they've already shown us? How do you feel about that statement? One of the biggest battles ever.
Look, it's definitely hype because it is going to be a big battle, but they ain't seen nothing yet. We know that there is so much more to come. So
you're like
wherever.
Sorry, I swallowed some water there. Darn the wrong tube, as they say. You're saying maybe one of the biggest battles ever in the show, but not necessarily the biggest battle ever. Okay. Sulin,
absolutely not.
Do you think this is like producer hype, kind of trying to throw like something to say out there that people that might not have checked it out might be like, well, I got to see what this biggest battle ever is about? Or do you think we're going to see one of the biggest battles ever for, I guess, I'm going to go with fantasy television?
I think it will be one of the biggest battles ever. I think maybe some of it's aimed at those who perhaps didn't like the battle at the end of season 1, perhaps trying to draw those folks back in. But yeah, I mean, we know it's going to be big. It's got to draw everyone in. It's got to end the series on a climax. So I'm confident. I think it will be a big battle. I think there have been some very big battles in television, especially fantasy television, in the past sort of 10 years. But I've got a lot of confidence that they want to do right by this battle and do right by the Wheel of Time. So yeah, I think it will be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing this in chat. Daniel said a big complaint about season 1 how small the battles felt. I mean, I could see them taking that criticism and trying to give us something. I mean, the end of book 2 in Falma there is a big battle going on there, right? And I guess I wasn't thinking they were going to give us kind of like the ocean side of this battle, if you will. Like, I was thinking they might go a little bit smaller. So I'm going to ask this. I'm going to end this poll that I have out there right now. What was the best part of this week's Wheel of Time news? 41% of you said Darkfriend Social. 31% said Daddy Ishamael Daycare. And then 14% said Seals and Forsaken Theories, which we're going to try to convince you is wrong, that is the most important thing. Koala is going to convince you that you missed some big stuff here at the Seals. And one of the biggest battles ever commented in that poll, and I'm going to ask you both, or I'm going to ask everyone here, that same question. Will we see one of the biggest battles ever? I'm going to say on TV for TV. How about that? And I'm going to say yes,
Sulin.
no. Let's just give you a yes or no. That's it. That's the option that you get. Okay. So
Sulin said it perfectly.
Yeah. What
She said it will be a big battle.
Yes, that's true. And since this is full spoilers, everyone, if you're here, full book spoilers, I agree. Goat Brother Dumai's Wells will be absolutely gore and carnage, right? There's a lot of battles to be had. But this one is, look, if they can bring it, I mean, impress us now. I mean, I feel like you just set this comment out there. Yeah. I feel like you just made it harder for yourself. I would have much rather been impressed and never heard that this was coming. Like, show me a little shot of like, whoa, that looks like a big battle. But going out and saying kind of like one of the biggest battles ever, I don't know. It just feels like an unnecessary, unforced error, if you will, in the category of things to be said about the season. But maybe this will hype some people up that would have shown up that wouldn't have if they hadn't seen some of this kind of commentary. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, that's it. Let's get back to our main topic here, which is that discussion that we're all here for, which is the Darkfriend Social. I'm going to play that here, and we'll go through this. And look, I'll try to get as high quality as we can for you. And yeah, let's watch this and see what we got. I have to like unzoom this thing. I've already gotten into the habit of zooming in for. Here we go. Okay. Okay, we got to stop here, right? Because this is like one of the shots that is just... this is one of the shots you're going to talk to us a lot more about later. This is something everyone noticed almost immediately. Well, not everyone. This became a discussion point, which was what could this possibly be referencing? And a lot of people noticed an 8-pointed star, and there, as far as I know, there aren't any references to this, but then a lot of people connected this to be related to the Forsaken. And Koala, what was it that you went deep on this thing. So what did you kind of immediately start noticing that made you go so deep on this idea?
I think the first thing with it was suddenly realizing that this looks uncannily like what we saw at the end of episode 8 at the Eye of the World. And so I started comparing this disc to the seal at the Eye of the World and discovered that it was the same but different. So the one at the eye of the world is more intricate in all of the borders around everything. But yeah, so there's my one. So that's the same size image with the same star on top of them. And as you start to look closely, you discover that the actual patterns in between each star are exactly the same. So it's like, okay, so these have to mean something.
And you're talking about,
important.
between these, in this kind of,
Yeah.
these kind of corners,
Exactly.
you know.
So there's more of a border around the little triangle of pattern inside each one of these on this seal at the eye of the world than what there is on the first image you showed. So you can see how the pattern pretty much fills the area between each point of the star here. But when you go back to there, if you look, for example, at the one at 9 o'clock, just above 9 o'clock, you can see that even though there's that cracked line through it, that little triangle part is exactly the same pattern. It's just got a pattern around the outside of it.
There's a
Yeah.
yeah. There, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying. Oh,
That's,
there's a.
yeah.
Did you use that to try to determine maybe who what these might reference? Because do you think that is it the same pattern around all of them?
It is the same pattern around all of them. Yeah. And so it's like, well, they have to mean something. What do they mean? And so then, look, there was all these gorgeous discussions happening on Twitter. So I did not do this on my own. This was a result of days of throwing images up and people talking and going back. And so it just kept going backwards and forwards, and people would say things, we go, ooh, and then I'd go and change the images again.
Okay, so Sulin, did you immediately have you been following and tracking all of this? Like, who is this?
Yeah.
Are there any that like stood out to you that like this definitely? I mean, maybe I'll ask this to everyone in chat here. There's about 150 of you voted. Will we see one of the biggest battles ever for TV? By the way, 5 minutes ago, split poll on this. I'm going to end this. Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be better than season 1, definitely. Biggest battles ever? I don't know. I guess that's a wait and see aspect to this. I'm going to ask everyone, and I guess I'll post these for us to look at here in just a second. But yeah, I'm kind of curious if we think that these spaces, what are we going to call it? Are these symbols, between the points, the 8 points, referencing the 8 Forsaken.
Don't you love that they're in the spaces in between?
Yeah,
I think that's perfect.
Speak to why do you think that's perfect? Just
because at the moment they're sealed away, so they're not really in the world. They're kind of sitting in this space in between. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. In between. Okay. Yeah. That's a fun kind of
in between the world
reference.
and where the dark one is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's true. That is a fun reference. I want to come back to though that scene of the little girl, and actually before we dive into the symbols list, I want to talk about where is this place. Now, if we talk about where it is just in our world, thanks to WoT series, WoT series already knows kind of where this is, right? This film location, I guess it's related to Star Villa or Star Summer Palace. This is
just outside Prague.
This is just outside Prague. Oh wow, that's a bummer. I wish I had known that. So I only show these images. And because, obviously what they can do is they can just use the building and then build out anything outside of it that they want, kind of make it look as big or elaborate. But they didn't really show this kind of entry side. But one of the thoughts I had was that I mean, well, maybe I'll ask both of you. Do you think that this is happening, somewhere closer to the Blight? Do you think this is happening at a Darkfriend's Manor, if you will? Or do you think this is happening at something kind of not that's being used by anything but the Shadow, but not in the Blight? Do you have a hint, or do you kind of have a belief at this point of where this scene is taking place?
I've got one little loony theory on that,
Okay.
which is that it could be Barthanis's manor. It could be in the grounds there, and the Trollocs have come through the Waygate, and that's how they got there. And because we know he's a Darkfriend, that they're using a building, obviously not in the steading, but it just kind of feels to me like maybe there's something that will call back to that in there. But I'm not standing by that one, but I like it as a bit of a loony theory that we kind of suspect we're going to get the party at Barthanis's, and so maybe this is happening here.
Yeah, I like the idea that this could be Lord Barthanis Manor. In the books, it's a much bigger place. It has like
it's just a building on his grounds. It's not his manor.
I see what you're saying. Like this is a building as part of his grounds. Okay.
On his grounds somewhere. Yeah.
Because we know, I think I'm trying to find where this is at. I thought I had grabbed this quote. But obviously Loyal says that there's a Waygate nearby. He says, I can feel it. And he said that, I thought he said something about it being a forest the last time they came through, and then they built this project.
Yeah, he says that because they cut down the grove, don't they?
Yeah.
It's built on the site of the grove. That's why there's the Waygate in the garden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, he says, he said, this was all forest when I came through Kyrian before and belonged to the king. So you have a nice shot. Obviously, let's pull that image so everyone can see that. I mean, it is built within kind of the confine. I mean, a forest surrounding. Sorry, I'm trying to find an image here. This is a good enough one. Right, this as it pans in, you see the entire forest, and then it's kind of built into this area. So I like the idea that it's in a forest and that there's a Waygate nearby. So I love, and that it's a building within the grounds, because you're right, they can take us to a different like palace location and make them look like they belong together. So that is one. I'm gonna put that up here as a potential theory. I'm gonna end this. 140 of you have voted. What are the symbols? Are the symbols between the 8 points referencing the 8 Forsaken? About 90% of you. I think that's right. I love this. This will forever be one of my favorite things ever. Thank you, Loyal Library. I'm always going to say loyal. I'm always going to say just loyal. That's just what's going to happen. But yes, thank you very much for the super chat. And that will, like I said, any proceeds from that will go to the Entertainment Community Fund. So that is one option here in this poll. I also want to play this one. I don't know if anyone here either of you seen WoTUp's theory about this. So Sulin, do you want to summarize WoTUp's theory?
I mean, in a word, he thinks it's in Amadisia. Yeah,
he thinks it's. I'm going to play the little clip. John, if you're out there, I didn't get your permission before this. I'm sure you won't hate on me for this, but I'm just going to play a little clip of you talking about this because this is a lot of fun. So, yeah, here we go.
Blight or Sheol at all. I believe what we're seeing here is probably a manor house in Amadisia. Now, if you don't know what Amadisia is, it's one of the countries here. So this is a shot of the brand new map by Rob at Weekly Wheel News. Now, if you don't know who Rob is, I've left a very nice of him, and I actually have a physical copy of the map up here at the end of the video. Now, Amadisia is to the left of Altara and at the base of the Mountains of Mist. So if we take a look here, we see the mountains in the background, we see a ton of fog, and that coupled with the fact that the 6-pointed star manor also matches the 6-pointed star that is on the flag of Amadisia. This gives me very, very strong circumstantial evidence that this is probably being held in Amadisia, which will...
I mean, admittedly, John, That's a good connection. I mean, that's such a prominent view, right? If you look at that shot of that 6-pointed star, right? And that connection he makes right there. And Amadisia, I would agree with this. If you go back, I think this is correct. Isn't the Dragon Reborn the prologue for that one was with Lord Pedro Nial, right? And it's talking about, I mean, it has the White Cloaks, and we're talking about a mix of the two books. The idea that White Cloaks are going to play, if the biggest battle comment can be believed, and the White Cloaks are going to come into play in this. We've already seen some shots of who could be Boars, and that his white flipping blonde hair or whatever, that could definitely be him. And we've only seen like 10 White Cloaks in behind the scenes, but that's what worried me a little bit. It's like these 10 people riding up to this building, and I was like, this hopefully is not the only White Cloaks in the show, but I can see this being Amadisia. So, how do you feel about this? I'm seeing you shake your head on this, Sulin, a lot. Are you in favor of this over Lord Barthena's Manor?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably one or two. I just don't think it's the Blight. It's too built up. And also the fact the building itself is white probably tracks a little bit for me towards the Amadisia angle. Like, it feels like, the White Cloaks aren't going to just build a brick building. Of course not. They're going to build a big building, paint it white, and let everyone, it's like the Tony Stark building in Iron Man, right? They've got this big symbol flagshipping who they are. And, it feels like a very White Cloak thing to do.
It's hard. Again, I look at this and I go, okay, John, like if they chose this, I'm totally all in. I think that's really good. For you, are you also, I feel like you're kind of shaking your head here, Koala. Are you all in on this one? Or do you still, is it 50-50 for you between like the Lord Barthena's, what did you call it? No, it wasn't his manor. It was like on his grounds or something like that.
A building on his grounds. Yeah. I really like John's theory. Right from the start, I said this isn't in the Blight, so how did the Trollocs get there? So that was where my thinking was coming from.
That's a good point, which is they need a waygate. And is there a waygate? I mean, there probably is. Do we have a known waygate in Amadisia? Does anyone out there that's watching right now want to send me a map that shows any locations of waygates in Amadisia?
It's just not on the top of my head.
I guess I have Google here. Is there a waygate in Amadisia? Everyone, look it up. Google didn't immediately tell me, so I'll look for chat and see.
There should be.
So we have Lord Barthena's ground as a location for this. Amadisia. Is there anything else that you've seen over the last couple of days where you think this is a pretty solid potential location for this? Anyone else in chat? Is there somewhere else that this could be? I guess we can have kind of like somewhere near the Blight.
Yeah.
I heard suggestions about it being Tel'aran'rhiod, but I don't think that Tinker Mum would take Tinker Baby to Tel'aran'rhiod.
Well, even if it's in Tel'aran'rhiod,
that made me feel like it's a real world location. The fact that Tinker Baby's there.
I mean, even like a reflection of, it's going to be a reflection of a place, unless it was completely, kind of a dream shardish, if you will. So, I have not. I'm trying to look back and see in chat if, because Close to Kyrian, I think really tracks because there's the aspect of, where's it at? I think, because this works really well within Rand potentially. Having that kind of statue moment, if you will, because Lord Barthena's is connected to the digging out of the statue itself. The fact that you might get Sulin there with him, and it connects to Lord Barthena's manor and the grounds. It all works to me. Oh, because you also have, if you remember, Hurin smells Trollocs in that area, and the fact that we're already seeing Trollocs here through Waygates. I think those are the strongest two candidates. I haven't seen anything else. Let me see. I don't see anything else in here. I'm gonna say, we'll say near Falma. Those are the four options: near the Blight, near Falma, Amadisia, or Lord Barthena's grounds. Let's ask everyone in chat what you think. I'm I'm good. Honestly, I think Amadisia or Lord Barthanes' grounds near Kyrian, to me, if they've made one of those two choices, really good choice for this kind of event. And now let's step back a little bit. I want to talk about this because, I mean, we can dig into who's at the table and all those things. What did you think, Sulin, about their version of the Darkfriend Social? How do you feel about the choices they made that were either the same, similar, or different from the books?
I liked the fact that they all had like cloths over their heads. But it made me just think about like the idea of walking into the situation and being given this cloth just dunked over your head like you're a child going for a ghost Halloween costume. Like, it seems a bit sillier than it needed to be in some ways. But it for me, it tracked with the books, apart from like the weird canapé reception that they sort of have before it starts from Boar's perspective, and obviously not seeing the scene how we see it in the book, at least not in the clip we've got so far. I quite like this version because we don't need all of that. You need sort of some plot points about the fact that, you know, the bad guys are meeting up and having a chat, and but you don't need all of the sort of stuff around it. So I liked this way of introducing it, and also like it just made Ishamael, who they're being very obvious is Ishamael, really scary. And I wonder if maybe he wasn't, you know, was he scary enough at the end of Eye of the World? Maybe not. So let's make him really creepy. And how do you make something creepy? You give him a small child to play with.
Yeah, I mean, let me go like to the book, to the point you made. You know, Boris talks about black silk masks that covered his face, and he talked about 100 black masks and 100 pair of eyes trying to see what lay beyond them. I do like the aspect of there's almost, I mean, this tracks, right? What we're seeing here, you know, these look like black silk, you know, coverings, whether they call them masks or not, coming over their heads. You're still seeing their arms, their dresses. You're not seeing 100 black masks here. Koala, does it bother you there's only 12 here? Or is the idea, in other words, was the idea of 100, was it just like, what is that the overwhelming nature of the Darkfriend influence? Does this feel like less so to you? Or are you feeling like this is a good enough representation to what they were trying to do? Or are they missing kind of just the overwhelming nature of what we read in The Great Hunt?
Look, I actually think it's perfect, because whilst they could have maybe had some kind of a reception area for a couple of seconds and then just brought these people into this room, why? You know, that's a lot of money to spend on setting that up for filming, when what I felt was the big thing about the Darkfriend Social was we were inside the head of the man who called himself Boars. And he was trying to work out who was who. Yeah. And how do you do that visually? You get this scared little girl who ducks under the table and starts looking at the legs. And that was way better than the coverings over the faces, because we had all these legs and we're trying to sort out who's who and where are they sitting in relation to the above scene looking back down on the table. And for my little nerdy head, that made this so much more fun even than trying to figure out, you know, what Boars was, the man who called himself Boars was trying to figure out. So by the time I'd watched this 4 or 5 times, I just loved the way they did that. And then, yes, added the horrific scariness of Ishi as the extra layer on top, rather than the, you know, sort of floating in the room and, you know, people falling to their faces. Like, him taking that child up to a trolley was way worse.
And I want to talk about that. 130 of you or so have voted on where's this location. I did see an interesting point by Marisu in chat that said, you know, there's so many fireplaces in this location. Why would that need to be in Amadisia? You know, that's a good point. Lord Barthanes' grounds got 20 more %. Amadisia, John out there, if you're watching, 62% of the support for Amadecia at this point.
Wow.
So, yeah. Now again,
But then
yeah.
Ishi's thing is fireplaces, isn't it? Like
That's what I mean. I mean, I kind
Absolutely.
of wonder if that was just like, again, for effect, right? This thing on the grounds works really well with whatever. In other words, I feel like the fireplaces were more for Ishamael and book fans than anything else, if that makes sense. It feels like more of a nod than it was like utility, if you will. I mean, and Sulin, this point, I did wonder at this. I was like, so the one, I guess for me, I still like the mingling aspect of people in a room, kind of some talking, some not, potentially. But I do like this mechanism, having this little girl, like whether or not they were all standing around and she was kind of going between them, or they're sitting, and them being seated allows for us to kind of stare at the kind of, what it is she's seeing versus people moving around, and she's kind of getting a flash as she kind of passes by people. I do like her as the mechanism for giving us that same feel that Bors gave us in the books as he stared at people without, again, getting out of the head of someone. So I thought that, I actually believe this is a pretty clever way to make this piece happen. And it's creepy. It's creepy. It's extremely creepy. Because from the Age of Legends, obviously, they did kind of train up children, if you will, in their belief system and their ways. The idea that that is happening here, if you will, right? And having Ishamael kind of take her out and begin her down this path is really, really creepy. Sulin, did you believe? Because I'll be honest, the first time I watched it, I thought they're going to go real horror here. He's going to leave her on the ground and he's going to walk inside, and you're not going to know, but you're going to believe the Trollocs. Were you like, the Trollocs are going to eat this little girl? Is that how you felt?
100%. I was like, it's like in season 1 when we met not Elsie Grimwell. Very quickly introduced to a small child. Oh, it's all going to go horribly wrong very quickly. And I'm not convinced that having her like giggling, stroking a Trolloc was better than having her just die. I don't know. I will say that having it through the eyes of a child is very good for a TV audience. You can connect with a small child and their sense of wonder and that sort of thing. Giving them a random man who they don't know is probably, there's less for a TV audience to connect to at that moment. But yeah, as soon as I saw her, I was convinced she was dead. She was toast.
Yeah, and someone just pointed this out. I love it in chat. So excellently put. They did this with the first season. Some of my, I think it's my, Alex said it's just like that scene with the Grinwell girl and Matt. One of my favorite scenes. And with the little doll. Yeah. I mean, I think Barney Harris killed it in season 1. Just amazing job. And that scene especially was a really poignant scene. Again, bringing in this little girl. And in the same way, I think this is a pretty effective thing that they've done here. By the way, I asked everyone in chat, if you're watching this, make sure you jump over, if you want to answer some of these polls, over to YouTube. You can find us in the Dusty Wheel, and you can answer these questions. I would love to have you jump in and answer some of these. This one is, and I'm going to be asking this as we go. Throughout the entire season, I want to understand where fans thought the adaptation choices were good or where they thought they weren't, right? And maybe we'll be more nuanced as we ask that question, but this one's a basic yes and no. Was this a good adaptation of the Darkfriend Social? So far, about 100 of you have voted on this, and it's looking like most of you believe this was a good adaptation. I know there's a lot of nuance as to who they chose to focus on, but I just want to know, was this, because there's going to be a lot of these choices throughout the entire season. This question's going to be asked to you a lot, but that's the most interesting part to me, which is how are they making these decisions? I wish we could ask them, and maybe we'll be able to in some day in the future when the strikes are over, is ask, like, why do this choice? I don't think this 80-90% to 11%, I think that's going to flip as the season goes on and as we learn more. But so far, it seems like this Darkfriend Social, at least for the fans that are here, a little kind of group of hardcore fan freaks on a Sunday that want to talk about the Wheel of Time and are answering these polls in chat, believe this was a good choice. So I want to focus on a couple of these things before we go back to the seal. We're going to get there, Koala, because you're going to take us through. Don't go anywhere
there's
because,
so much.
by the way, you don't want to go anywhere because Koala's going to explain. Like, I don't want to even show necessarily these images and like ruin. No,
Not yet.
I feel like I can't because I feel like if I show any of them, it's going to be like, wait, what? So I want us to talk about someone that the little girl sees. Because I saw a lot of comment. I wasn't able to follow this throughout the week. I was too busy. That's partly why we're doing this. And I saw, but I did see, yes, this is all for me. I did see a lot of people say this is probably Lady Suroth. And so I was staring at this image a lot. And as I do, everybody, because, you got to start zooming in. That's where this gets fun, right? Zooming into images is where you start noticing like oddities. Like, okay, if you notice the metallic look of whatever you want to say this is, of the nail here, and the length of that metallic look on each of these hands. And then if you notice, now you can say that maybe the coloring here is as a factor of the lighting underneath the table as they're taking the shot. But there does seem to be kind of some decorative nature to the nail here, some coloring of the nail. Now, as you guys have done before, you might say that I'm just seeing things. That's okay. So I did some comparison images here because that's also, I knew you would ask this question, like, is there really a difference here? And so, yeah, let's zoom in and start asking ourselves this question. Right, if you notice, the top side of these that Lady Suroth is wearing are actually quite short. Now, they could be the same metallic color, but they are shorter. Now, do they have like variations of these? Do they have multiple? And you'll notice that for Turok, the coloring of these is and how it's decorative is quite dramatic. But again, if you just look from the sizing standpoint of the two on the sides, it's clear that they are different. And I think they're probably different coloring of the metal itself, but that could just be the coloring of the actual image too. But they look different to me. Now, what's obviously different is the costuming. This blue, this dark blue or aqua, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to this red. Now, yes, she could be wearing different nails and but because you do get the same flair, if you will. So as you look at these three images, lacquer, thank you, lacquer. That's a great word. I should start using that. So am I seeing something here, Koala? Or do you think that those are different lacquered nails on the person on the right as opposed to the person on the left?
I do, and right from the moment like that we saw it in the preview, I was yelling quite a lot at the screen when I was watching the preview the first time, and it's like, oh my God, it's Suroth. And that's like, hang on, why would they do that? Why would they obviously name Suroth at the very beginning of the season? That's what made me really start thinking about, is it different? And when I look at those two hands, the way of the two women on the outside, the way you've done that, it's like, no, it's not just the attachments, but they're different hands. Like those finger knuckle lengths are different. I don't think it's the same person.
Okay, I don't know why they would. I haven't convinced many of that it's Suroth, because I can see in chat that I'm seeing some. Now, I will say this: I get the resolution thing, I get the coloring. You can't tell me that the sizing of the metal on the first finger of the person on the right is the same. So you might think this is the same person, but these are different. These are different nails. Nails. So as long as we agree they're different nails on the same person, cool. Because tone of the image, the skin itself, sure, those things can look off depending on the lighting. And I get that the lacquer itself could be too zoomed in. We can't see them. I'll zoom back out a little bit here. again, lighting, totally get. I just the sizing of the metal itself is the thing that I'm saying betrays something that's a little bit different. So let me go look at this. About almost 200 of you voted. Was this a good adaptation of the Darkfriend Social? 175 of you, 88% believe it was. 12% say no. Okay, so I'm going to end this poll. I think we have a fair enough assessment for people that are here, that are willing to vote at least. And then I'm going to say, and I'll ask this question. Are the nails, what do we call it? Just like the nails?
Attachment.
Just the nails.
Nail attachments. How about that? Different on the right and left sides of this image. How about that? Is that...
That's good.
I'll ask that. Sulin, what do you think? Have I convinced you that at the very least the nail attachments are different?
Yeah, you have. The length of the metal is definitely different. I wonder if, like, in the books, Jordan goes on about, skirts divided for riding a lot. You have different outfits for different occasions, and so are these my going out nails as opposed to her traveling nails? Like, if she's on the palanquin, maybe these nails are like easily detachable, so she can have like little sandwiches while she's on the way. And then if there's a Black Aja ring, why not Black Aja nail? Why not, Darkfriend nails for the Shanshan? They can all screw their costuming a bit for when they're serving the Great Lord of the Dark.
I have not, by the way, convinced everyone here. Michael in chat is saying, and this is, it's a fair point. He said, I refuse to believe the show would be so goofy as to toss in a non-Suroth Shanshan Darkfriend in there. Okay, I see why you feel like that would be goofy, but misdirection to me in this case is not like, yeah, they want you to believe it. And so maybe when, they've already established that this wasn't the dark one, right? This first scene, by the way, Amazon mentioned this is the first scene of season 2. So the first scene, the person that they then sold as the dark one, which the books do too, we know as a Shamael, right? He's a Forsaken. He's the father of lies. And they've also shown images of him standing next to Shanshan, the Lady Suroth. So they're already connecting the idea that Lady Suroth is working with this person. So they're not, if this was Lady Suroth, they're not giving away anything here.
I think it's a red herring.
You think it's a red herring? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like we know there are other Shanshan Darkfriends. We know there are Forsaken hiding amongst the Shanshan. I would love if they had this clip, had us convinced for the whole season that it was Suroth.
Yeah.
And then in 4 seasons' time, we find out it's actually enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna look at. So far, still 120 voting on this. There's this. Oh, it looks like so far it does look like I've at least suggested that the nail attachments are different on the right and left sides of this image. So that's good. At least we've made it there. My computer, there we go. It was a little bit like giving me a little bit of problem there on one of these images. So I was like, shoot, I hope it's not I'm gonna close some of these images. Always so many things to be showing here. John, we'll say goodbye to you on that one. Okay, so let me take us back out, and just as a demo on this one image here. Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. Now, certainly could be Suroth. Like I said, there's the kind of section by her hands. It's very similar here. Lighting wise on this one, although this is funny. So now does people want to go back and vote? These do. I wonder if these are just different, like we said. That length of that does look very similar. So now I'm questioning my own sanity here. So we'll see. Now everyone's like, can I revote? No, poll's over. Too late. You're like, you didn't show us all of the images. You didn't let us. You didn't show us all of the work you did. I know. I just noticed that one. What can I say? Okay. I know. Yeah, exactly. I feel this. Innkeeper side eyes his vote. That's true. Look, it's not my fault. They probably did have different props that they used. Okay, so as far as other people, Sulin, was there anyone else sitting under the table where you're like, oh, this one I really want to talk about?
One of the ladies in the red dress. So
Okay.
I mean, at first glance, you think, sure, probably Leandrin. And I don't think it is. There's two, I think, with red dresses. One is patterned, and we've never seen the Aes Sedai in actual sort of printed pattern clothing. It's all, lines and curves and things like that, but it's not like printed fabric. So I don't think it is Leandrin. And I might have a bit of a loony theory here, but I don't think Leandrin is a Darkfriend yet. I think we're going to see her turn into one. That's very controversial. But yeah, I want to talk about Lady in the Red Dress.
Okay, let's talk about that. I'm going to ask everyone, is Leandrin at this Darkfriend Social? A yes or no? Okay. I mean, Koala, what do you think? Do you think that the other person in the kind of long, you're talking about the red dress that went down to the ground, if you will. Mm-hmm. Do you think that
one we see first?
Yeah, do you think that person is an Aes Sedai and is Leandrin?
No, I don't think so. And I think that a lot of it is what Sulin was saying about how patterned the dress is. But I was only just looking again at all of those stills before we logged on this morning. And I haven't figured out who that one is. But when I was first watching it, I thought there was a consistency error because I was thinking that was Tinker Mum. Okay. But Tinker Mum's dress is actually very different to that one and really matches Tinker Baby's dress. And they're sitting in quite different positions around the table. So what other culture wears a lot of like beautiful flowing patterned colors? I didn't get far enough.
I started researching that. I want to say potentially Amadecia, but I could be wrong on there. Sulin, have you looked into that? Like who else could be potentially?
No, I have not, but I can see people in chat talking already. Suggesting different Aes Sedai that it could be. But no.
And that's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah, right?
Yes.
It's too, like, it's not,
yeah.
And it's not the sequins that we see on the person with the Aes Sedai ring.
Yeah.
So there are, if it is Leandrin, they're not showing the ring on that one.
And it looks like there's an Aes Sedai ring on another person at the table, and I don't believe we would have 3 Aes Sedai at this small table. I think that would be an overkill.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you there. That would definitely be like a bit much.
Yeah.
I see someone in chat said sea folk.
I'd like Dana Lou said, it could be some lady from some country. This is yes, I agree.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Could be 3. It could be some lady from some country. That's accurate. Yes. Okay, so yeah, this is a potential. Romania floral is Toman head, though. Yeah, someone want to send me an.
Okay.
I saw my fellow innkeeper in chat. Do you have those images from just kind of the floral designs that we've reviewed before? I know they're somewhere out there. If you have it and you have time to send it to me, that's awesome. If not, don't worry about it. Yeah, a lot of people believe that is a Tinker outfit. I could not find. I looked. Did anyone ever see if I did? I did not go through all. I think I missed maybe the 4th I did not go all the way through the fourth one to look and see if I could find the actual image of someone else wearing the exact pattern. Obviously, it has a very Tinker-esque look to it from a pattern standpoint when we're talking about the mother here. You know, if we look at this image.
Yeah.
You know, if we stare at this image a little bit, it seems pretty. I mean, I
that's
just could
when
not
she
find
says,
this
"Mum."
exact pattern, right? And so they would be smart not to have shown us. I mean, if we can just immediately find these people from season 1, that's a bit of a waste, right? So even with Lady Suroth, they gave us, right? They gave us, assuming that's Lady Suroth, it's still a different outfit. So it's not like we immediately could say it's the same exact outfit itself. So yeah. So I mean, and Stubble McShave, and this is a thing I was bringing up. John felt like, his theory. He said that the girl and the mother could be living in the building, and that the clothes matched Amadisia. So that's one chance too. So let me look this up. 156 of you voted as Leander at this Darkfriend Social. This is a split bag, 56-44. I kind of feel like they purposely, honestly, what happened was they covered it with a glove. It's kind of similar to Jordan, right? Okay, there's a ring, but you can't see what color the ring is or whatever it is. It's you just the way they do it now, right? They have a huge jewel here, right? So it's like, we're just going to turn it. It's black, basically. So we're just going to tell you that one is there, and we're not going to give you any real clues. Right? We're going to cover the hand. We're going to cover everything, and they can basically make that person anyone, right? It doesn't actually have to have been anyone. Yeah. So, and maybe let me ask that, like, let me end this poll and say, let's see, was the Aes Sedai with the black glove meant to represent any and all, not one in particular? I mean, that just feels like it's kind of like when you see like someone from any large group. Look at the White Cloaks, right? Was it just actually meant to be one, or they can just make it anybody? So yeah, like people are saying this. I saw the people like, well, it could be this person, it could be this person. That isn't as relevant because we didn't hear instructions, right? Like from the book, we didn't hear anything really. We heard one voice say like, was it like, should we kill him? Or I don't know, can't remember, something like that. And that one voice we can try to go match later on. But I feel like we were given like that ring meant to not really, it could be anybody. That's kind of how I felt about it, if this makes sense.
We don't really find out in the books, do we?
Exactly.
I mean, there's some that are, I think if you go back, there's some that we know. But yeah, I mean, there were 100, and he mentions a couple things, and again, like generally speaking, it could be a number because you're going to find a number of dark friends from each kind of grouping. So, by the way, this is a live call-in talk show. If you'd like to give us a call, you certainly can. It's 1313. It's right behind that sign there. Hard to see. Talk WoT or 1313-825-5968. 1313-825-5968 if you have a comment. Right now, we're actually going to jump, because I've seen a lot of theories. I don't want to go through each one of the, is it Ingtar? Sure, it could be. I want to go back to the seals. Koala, you've brought us some amazing amount of deep dive into these seals, so I want to give you a chance to go through that, and if you want to give us a call, we'll bring you into the show. This was a lot of fun. I saw this kind of conversation start to happen among fans. Like you said, this was a group effort, and I think that's a fair way to say that. Although, here we go. Oh, that's okay. My fellow innkeeper sent me this. Again, full book spoilers. If you are here and you are watching this, it is your fault for the next image. If you did not want to know this information, don't stare at the screen here, because I'm going to show. This is a question about the books after they were done. Okay, and so again, walk away, look away. This is a huge thing you don't want this to be spoiled. So I've warned you enough. Okay, here you go. This is a question that was asked of Maria Simmons, who was Robert Jordan's assistant. And the question was, sitting at the Varen panel with Maria now, one question answered that Harriet declined to answer before. Was Varen at the Darkfriend Social? I believe she was. There we go. So thank you very much. And this is the other image that my fellow innkeeper sent as far as patterns. That pattern kind of has a potential Kyrian-esque, look to these floor-length dresses, perhaps. So I could, it kind of has that red dress. If we think about the red dress itself from a pattern perspective, that one looks a lot like it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's the only one that's standing out so far. Maybe something over here too, but I'm guessing this is more, it's more the Shanchan, so I doubt it. So now I know there is a second, I thought there was a second board or maybe one that had more countries, and these only show some of the countries that they referenced out of season 1. So we don't have a season 2 board, if you will. But, I could see it being this kind of pattern here. Kyrian, someone from Kyrian. I think that's reasonable. Okay. So without further ado, let's jump into these images that you brought us, Koala. Now,
Great.
Where do you want us to begin? I know we saw those first 2. Do you want me to go back to
So we
those?
saw the first 2.
Yeah.
No, I think we're good with them. We could go to the third one, which is the Eye of the World with the outline on the dragon's fang.
Yep. Okay. And how zoomed in do you want it to be? Just the full
Oh no,
image
yeah,
itself?
I think
Okay.
just full image, because we can see that I outlined the dragon's fang. So what I'm looking at there is that somebody brought up this really good point that the patterns were the same in the same locations in between each of the points of the star, but the orientation of the Aes Sedai symbol in the center is different. And so when we look at the one with the Eye of the World, the outline I put around is the dragon's fang side, and the tip of it is pointing to the pattern that I have identified as belonging to a Shamael, which is where, of course, the strike happens. And then if we go to the next one, which is the disc that's fallen onto the ground, then we can see that this time...
This is the one that lists Lanfear, right?
Yes. So it lists Lanfear, correct.
Yeah.
And so you can see that the orientation now of the Aes Sedai symbol has changed. And it's the flame of Tarvalon, whose tip is now pointing to this pattern. And I believe that that is saying this disc is on the ground because this disc represents Lanfear, and Lanfear has been freed or is maybe about to be freed.
Hold on. You're thinking...
Hold on.
So did you look at the other discs? Do the other discs actually have different orientations on every single one of them?
They do.
All of them do? Wow. Yeah. Okay. I did not. So each of them has a different orientation of this, and the tip of the dragon's fang there, you're saying, is oriented towards...
Well,
is it always
towards...
Yeah, sorry, the flame of Tarvalon. You're saying, is it always oriented...
So for Ishi...
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm starting to work on, is that Aes Sedai symbol. So in Ishi's case, being a male, it's the dragon's fang that's pointing. And in Lanfear's case, it's being female, it's the flame of Tarvalon.
Okay. So do you think, and so your belief is that this image relates to Lanfear. Why? Why is it you believe this image is
Because of the moon pattern. Because of the moon pattern.
Okay. Hold on.
So if we look closely at the pattern, it's got the pattern that most represents a moon type shape. I mean, there is no other pattern there that has like a disc in the middle.
Okay, so you think that this disc
So
here
that
is
pattern
moon-shaped?
is landfears. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So you can see that round moon.
Look,
In the
I
middle,
see
with
lots
then all
of
the
stuff.
lines flowing
I think
through it. Oh,
you guys are amazing
absolutely.
on this because
saw
I just go
different
like, what am I looking? people in chat are like, looks like a baseball.
exactly right, a moon-shaped baseball.
I see.
So,
okay. Yeah.
and I changed my mind on who was where during the course of several days of doing this because, yep, you do. You see different things in each of the patterns. And so it was a bit of a process of elimination, you know, that as you would get to feeling quite clear on one or two, it helped start to fill out the rest of them.
Yeah, I see Tavira and Tavern. Yeah. Maybe let me catch you up a little bit. I have not followed all these things. Yeah, I know because he was doing this too. Some of what you're seeing right now live is me trying to understand what everyone was coming up with. So yeah, we're definitely going back in time a little bit during our discussion right now. So yeah, if that is too onerous of an activity, this may not be the stream for you. So next
Okay.
Next
one.
So you started kind of trying to pattern, and you and a variety of people out there started. Tavir and Taryn, I saw the Tavern, and then I saw who else was out there doing that.
Lauren
Lauren was also doing
the
it.
Pattern was big in it. Kevin
of course was
totally in it. Rob Christensen was in it a bit at times. Salya O'Neill was in and out, and then there was a host of people who were just like making one comment here and there, and then I was also posting them on 3 of the Discords, and there was conversation. So the Dusty Wheel, Watch Party WoT, and the Blacktail podcast. So like, yeah, it was.
So is there a reason
very
why you believe
big collaboration?
And you're pointing out Landfear here, and tell me if this was part of your calculation. Was this one was actually knocked on the ground as compared
Correct.
to other ones, and so your belief
Correct.
is that it was meant to symbolize that she's been released or she's out? I mean, what does everyone think here? Let me
or is in the process of being released, possibly.
Okay. So I'm going to end this vote here. Was the Aes Sedai with the black glove meant to represent any and all black Aja, not one in particular? 64% of you say it is. So let me ask this, which is, have all of the Forsaken, or will all of the Forsaken be released this season? Please let it be so. I don't know that I can do a will all the Forsaken be released this season? That all of the Forsaken that will be in the show be released this season. Okay, yes or no? Okay, and the reason why I'm asking that question, Sulin, at least for you, do you want to see a progressive release of Forsaken? Like in season 3, we get 2 more, if you will.
Yeah.
Or do you want to see them all kind of come out and just be out this? Have escaped. Maybe we don't see them all, but there's not this like Ishamael goes into a cave and he gets a new one or something, and it's like, oh, you're released. Do you want them all to have been out, and maybe we don't meet them until later, but have been released at this point in season 2 sometime?
No, I think it makes more sense to release them bit by bit, because they're not all relevant at the start. Like, you know, we know some of them are doing stuff in the background, but they're not really relevant until Ram decides that they're relevant to him. So I just feel like for new watchers, they're not going to learn all of this lore and mythology that we already know that quickly. And they're not gonna be able to, you know, catch all these little Easter eggs. So I feel like by doing one at a time and letting people learn that person, learn their thoughts and how they relate to Rand and Lucerian and all of that, you get a much better way of dealing with the villains. And also 8 Forsaken, 8 series, it kind of feels like you get a big bad for every season, right? Which is kind of what they do with television, apart from obviously the last season when you've got a few of them on the table. but it feels like that's the way they're going. A new challenge every season.
So, yeah, I get what, and I saw this. Robert pointed this out, and yeah, I mean that makes sense. I just this is one of those in the same ways. Like I think I'll struggle if there's kind of like if they use like Forsaken like villain of the seasons. Like I just don't want there to be like a season 5 and it's like, who's the new Forsaken that broke out of the seal? Oh, we got a new Forsaken, and they have to like set up shop like by the Great Hunt, as in I completely disagree with anyone that doesn't believe all the Forsaken were out by early in the Great Hunt. Like all the Forsaken were out. Like the idea that they were like progressively still getting released at that point, no. Like and Robert Jordan certainly did not take us back down that road. You know, it was like, yes, the event that happened at the Eye of the World was the event that that basically ushered in the rest of the Forsaken. So I don't like the idea, but I do agree that I can see maybe some season 3 like introductions. I just don't want to see a Shamael. Well, and this goes back to another question I have, which is the Shamael going to die? Because he can't be the person that's releasing all these people or going and meeting them all later seasons if he's dead. And I'm seeing you shake your head, Sulin. Do you believe he's dead at the end of the season?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
How about you, Koala? Do you think a Shamael is dead at the end of the season?
Probably at the end of this season, if not by early next season, definitely. And I think we need him to die. And when we get a little bit further into the things, I'll talk about some of the Forsaken deaths and coming backs and all of the messiness that would make for television. But with the Forsaken being released every episode or every season, I think that viewers are not going to know that all the Forsaken are free yet. But I don't, and so I think we're going to kind of get a new one each episode. But that doesn't mean it's not quite like a video game where you've had to beat the bad boss to get to the next level.
You're right. Yeah, they could still release them
will
and
be
then
coming through.
Yeah.
So it won't necessarily be a thing of Ishii releasing one. But I don't know that viewers who haven't read the book will really understand that that they're out, or that it's weakened things enough that they're getting out and that we don't know where they are. So I think it'll be a little bit more nuanced than a new Forsaken every season, but I think that's what we'll basically get.
by the way, will all the Forsaken
makes sense?
Well, all the Forsaken that will be in the show released this season, 76% don't believe so. That would irritate me if there was more. What I mean by that is Shamael has to die at the end of the season. Like if you leave Shamael alive, you've screwed up. What I mean by that is if you're adapting 2 books in one, we already have him as the big baddie at the end of 1. Yeah. He's clearly going to be the big baddie at the end of 2. If you're taking us into an adaptation, which is taking us down to 7 seasons for 14 books, and you leave a Shamael alive after the season, you have screwed up, in my opinion. That's just is a shot. I'm going to ask here. And by the way, for those of you listening or looking at this poll, no, Moradin doesn't come into this question. Don't think about Moradin here. Does a Shamael die at the end of season 2? Yes or no? That's your. And no, like, wait, does this count if he gets transmigrated? Stop thinking about that. Don't go deep. Don't go deep. Okay. Let me let you jump back in here. And so let me go look at your images here. I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna show one that has that has like Asmodean, Shamael, Semirog, Samael, Demandra, Mogadin, and Lanfear listed. Is that okay? Are you good with that one? Okay, let me show that one. And maybe talk to then, because now you started off with Lanfear. Yep. And then all of you started trying to so why did you make these? Were these things you saw others saying? And you're like, okay, these are good. Is there a reason why you chose these? Yeah, maybe. Yep.
So again, it was a collaboration. So I was picking things up, throwing things out there, and we discussed them. But that that is a spider symbol there at Mageddon.
Okay.
For certain.
Yeah.
And if you look for ancient representations of spiders, it's that one to me was one of the most clear. Now, the next one with Demon Dread, I actually wanted that symbol to be Ishamael because it looked like infinity symbols. And once I got that in my head, I was having trouble getting it out of my head. And I still haven't completely settled what that symbol represents. But basically, I had filled everybody else in, and so Demon Dread won the spot.
So he won that spot.
I'd be interested if he won the spot, yeah. But I'd be interested if anybody could tell me why that symbol belongs to him, because the next one, Samael, I mean, that is a bee. That just, I cannot see anything else there but a bee, particularly when you look at the way the golden bees of Ilion are arranged on the sigil for them. It even matches the way the pattern of that bee works. So I had no problem slotting Samael into that spot. Yeah, so like for me, Mageddon and Samael were like perfect.
So, by the way, my wife just did a shrug emoji in chat. Yes,
I know, but you've got to understand what, you know, a place my head is. It's a very strange place to be.
No, I get it. Well, I love that you're like the bee, but this one, I see for the Demon Dread one, I see some, I don't know, I see some like faces maybe in here.
But it is a shrug emoji, isn't it? It's like,
you know, the picture that you showed us earlier of all the costuming.
Yeah.
Wasn't Shara on there?
Yes.
Is there a similarity in that to what the symbol is, do you think?
I
We've got
went a
bees
long
for
way down
Ilion.
Shara. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
that's where
an
I was
interesting
yesterday,
one. Okay.
Sulin. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're going to like this one.
Okay, Semiraj, go for it. Yeah.
That's her head. Like,
That's...
it's, you know, tilted on the side, but you bring that up and stick it over that image, and that's definitely Semiraj.
Okay. And then Asmodean, why is Asmodean for this one? You feel like this is representative of like some type of instrument?
Absolutely. So again, you've got to remember we're looking at it basically upside down. But yes, I think that's a harp.
Yeah, I should go grab the image that Lauren put out there, I think.
Yep.
And then you don't have anyone listed. Did you give me another image for this one? Hold on.
It must be the next. Yeah, it must be the next image that's got Grendel there.
Okay, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Here you are.
And all I can say for her symbol is, if you think of what the island of Tarvalon looks like, we have Grendel.
You're like, that does make sense.
Yeah.
That's a very Jordan-esque symbolism there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Asmodean, Semiraj. So for and I saw Kevin in chat here. I'm kind of curious. Did Kevin has his own? Did he have his own variations of symbols? Is there some disagreement out there among the symbologists who have been looking deeply into this as far as what relates to what, or is this a pretty generally accepted grouping?
I think by the time I'd arrived at this one, it was fairly generally accepted. There might have been some people who might have wanted to swap Demon Dread and Samael, which I can't remember exactly.
One looks more like a bee or something to that effect. Sorry,
something like that.
I have to revisit, like if I can find this comment.
And the problem is, it was happening over time, and so then it gets hard to go back and look at a position somebody had, because we all changed positions as we went. Don't go deep.
Jared Poulter said, Matt saying don't go deep. Look, I get it that question I just asked. Sometimes people get lost in the 133 of you voted, by the way. Does Ishamael die at the end of season 2? I just didn't want nuances in the midst of this poll, because it's like, well, does he ever die? I don't know. 73%. There's still 28% of you holding out that Ishamael is going to live through the end of the season, I just want to talk to the writers. And this is already decided. So, like, that would have been, like, the dumbest choice. If Ishamael is still alive, like, this is something I was annoyed about by Jordan. So, this will just be even more annoying for the writers of the show if you left Ishamael alive. It's a bad choice. So 72% on that, 140 of you voted on that one. Do you? I'm going to ask everyone here. Did we already ask if they agree that these symbols represent Forsaken? Sulin, did we ask that question? Do you agree that these symbols reference Forsaken?
I mean, I've just lost a week of my life if they don't.
It's never a loss. It's never a loss. This is all just pure joy. This is pure joy. What are you talking about?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
very much fun.
Then you had some really intricate, and then you kept going kind of pretty deep into this. And so I got to bring these images up, and then we got to bring our callers in. We have 2 callers out there, and we'll bring you in here shortly. Then you went like, where is this image at? I got too many images here. Okay, so I got to show this one. Sulin, have you seen any of these images? Have you? Okay, so you went back and started tracking this along the original symbol, and then you think that this is somehow related to Agenor and Balthamel. How did you get to this conclusion? Like, take me down.
This is a really fun rabbit hole, this one.
Yeah, like, walk me through this, man. I love rabbit holes when it comes to Wheel of Time, so walk me through this.
It's a good one. I loved how people started theorizing at the end of season 1 that if you counted the cracks that were on the seal, that there were 8 major cracks, but they split and diverged to become 13, which meant that the 13 Forsaken are going to be merged into 8. So once we had these patterns and I had the Forsaken labeled around the 8-pointed star, I started to look at the cracks to see if I could figure out who was being merged into who. Yep. So there's all our cracks. And so I think that gave us a really big clue with the Darkfriend Social preview that we got, because when Ishamael takes that little tinker baby out to pat the Trolloc.
Yeah.
Now, Agenor created the Trollocs.
Okay.
And Ishamael was having a very fatherly reaction to that Trolloc, and that Trolloc was, going into his hand and all of that creepy stuff that was happening. So that gives me a clue that it's going to be very easy to just merge Agenor's arc as having created the Trollocs into Ishamael.
Okay, so you think they were kind of doing like a look. So do you believe that Agenor then is not going to be obviously
Correct.
one of these 8? So
Correct.
You think there was like a nod to Agenor to have this kind of Trolloc moment to like focus on Agenor's. Sulin, what do you think about this theory that like they gave us a really paternal creationary kind of moment with this Trolloc because it was like a nod to Agenor because Agenor is not going to be in the season?
I don't know. I feel like there's like looking too deep and then looking too deep.
No,
and
there's never. Sulin,
It's
what
never.
just happened? Looking too deep. What?
I see it though, not just being as a nod to Agenor. At some point, there's going to have to be the backstory of where did the Trollocs come from. So it's not just that it's a nod to Agenor. At some point, where did the Trollocs come from? Well, they can't have come from someone who doesn't exist in the show. So Ishamael can end up being credited as having been one of the forces that caused the creation of the Trollocs. Maybe he had other Darkfriend or other Aes Sedai under him that were creating them at the time, or they were unnamed Forsaken that were killed at the eye of, at the killed at the battle with the 100 companions. But I don't think Argonor is going to be, named as a Forsaken.
As one of them.
I
Okay.
agree. I agree
Yeah.
with that. I think if you're going to credit to anyone, credit it to Mieren, as she was the scientist.
That's right.
She could be multidisciplinary.
I need to think about that. Am I okay with that? I'm going to think about that one, Sulin, and see if this seems reasonable right now. Okay, I want us to get to this
if
last
you bring
image.
that image up.
Oh yeah,
but
which one?
If you bring that one that you had up though, what I really liked about these 3 cracks that are on Ishamael is that, then the next crack that I haven't marked there runs over to Lanfear. So I think that possibly Ishamael and Lanfear might even combine a little bit of some of what went on, but I don't think that one's Argonor. But we've also got Balthamel there, and I think that Issue will run the intelligence networks, which was one of the things that Balthamel was well known for having done. So I think that that's where we don't need that person named again. Ishamael will just be in charge of all of that.
By the way, do you agree that the symbols reference Forsaken? 92%. If we ask this question twice, there we go. You got a chance to change your vote. I want to ask everyone about this idea that Sulin had. If they drop Agonor, should Lanfear be Trolloc Mommy? Creator. There we go. Yes, no, it should be Ishamael for you Ishamael freaks. No, it should be another Forsaken. Okay.
I love it.
There we go. I know, this is a very Dusty Wheel poll for all of you. Now I want to take us to the final version of the crack theory that you have going on here. This is the wild. Sulin, get ready. This is going this is going deep. This is going deep here. So, walk me through, walk me through why you think that these kind of reference. So in your thought process here, this is them trying to intricately tell us these are the Forsaken we have, and these are the merges we're going to do. And we're going to make them into cracks, and we can just say, no, that's insane if we decide to change this. However, this is what our thought process is. Is that what I'm reading here? Is these cracks are, in your mind, representative of the merging itself.
They are.
I freaking love this.
And so I'm merging Masana with Lanfear because Lanfear absolutely hated the White Tower. So infiltrating the White Tower would just tickle her fancy. And my loony theory on that, so I didn't write that on this map because this is my loony theory part of it, is that they renamed the Grinwell girl. We know that they originally named her Elsie, and then they renamed her in season 1. So we are going to see Elsie Grinwell at the tower, and that's going to be Lanfear in disguise infiltrating the White Tower.
So obviously we see Sulin. Do you like the idea of a Masana Lanfear merge? If you had to take Masana out of this, who would you give that role to?
Maybe Semirhage, just as I feel like she'll have less to do. In my head, you would merge Masana and Halima. Osengar?
Okay.
Yeah. But then if you're gonna cut both, either Lanfear or Semirhage. I feel like Semirhage's not got loads to do. She could dip out a bit. We're just not gonna see her on screen, is my thought. A lot, as much as we're gonna see Lanfear. So do you want more actors doing lots of things, or do you want one actor doing all the things?
Yeah, absolutely. Why Moghedien and Bilal? What was your thought process here?
So that was that was a tricky one because you have to take who isn't in those 8 and try to figure out how they might go together. So Megiddian, of course, was the spider, and spiders weave webs, and Bilal was quite a net weaver. So it seemed like she could take on some of his roles, but he also was credited for inventing sword fighting, which is not something that Megiddian would do. And that's why you can see a little tip on the Demon Dread side.
I freaking love that you're like, there's a little crack over here that's like sword fighting. That's freaking amazing.
You got it, right? Because it's like it branches inside Megiddian, but then a tip of it lands in Demon Dread. And that would make sense that that parts of his roles are actually maybe going to be split between Megiddian and Demon Dread.
By the way, Koala, this is my favorite. I can't remember if any of like the cracking of mixed with the symbols being the demonstrative kind of idea of the merges. Like I haven't seen that before that I remember. So I love this. By the way, I'm going to end this poll. About 140 of you voted. If they drop Aganor, should Lanfear be Trolloc Mommy Creator? Apparently, Sulin, only 18% agreed. 54% give it to Shamael, which that's lame.
He's a philosopher. That's lame.
Yeah, it is totally lame. She's like a scientist. I agree with you, like in that way. I mean, she like won power research, but you know, at least give it to some scientist, not the philosopher. Yeah, that's. I would agree with that. I want to ask everyone. I'm going to end this poll. Did I end this poll already? No, I thought I did. I thought I ended the poll. I don't know if I will let me end the poll. Here we go. I'm going to try this again. Let me try ending the poll. It's like stuck. Okay. I may not be. That might be the last poll for today, by the way. While I try to end this poll, I'm going to bring our first caller into the show. Let's bring them in. Hey, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
Great innkeeper. As always, sir, I raise my glass to you, sir.
Norm.
Ladies of
Cheers.
the realm, I raise my glass to you and to everyone in chat. What's up?
How you doing, Norm? What's going on, man? How's it been? And specifically, the question I have that you need to answer for me is: Do you agree with this crack theory about the seal actually like representing all of the different Forsaken, and which ones will be merged based on the symbols between each of the point of the stars? Like, are you on board for this theory?
It's kind of a stretch, just a tad. I mean, you know, I'm all in for diving into the rabbit hole and everything, but I think,
you're like Sulin here. You're like, you feel like this has gone too deep.
It's just a tad, but I do agree with Sulin that it's easier to retcon saying that maybe 5 of the Forsaken were killed in the battles with the Loose Theron and the 100 Companions, and you can mention them in passing that, you know, they put up a great fight, but, you know, Aganor and Balthamon and whoever else, and, you know, Manny Mo and Jack all died at the at the boar, but we've caught those other 8, you know, inside, you know, and that's how they got sealed up and such. It's easier to probably just, you know, exposition that away, you know, in a cut scene or something like that, and just, you know, when they eventually show that battle, it's easier to just do that and just retcon it that way. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask everyone in chat this question to the Forsaken symbols and Forsaken merges. Okay, this is the question, everyone. Do you believe in the seal cracked theory? Or how about this? Instead of saying that, do you agree? Do the cracks point to the Forsaken symbols and their Forsaken merges? Yes or no? There you go. If this poll works, there we go. It seems to be working. Let me know in chat. It seems like there's a blip there. So, Norm, for you, Darkfriend Social, did you like this adaptation? Was it a good adaptation to screen as compared to what we got in the books?
I liked it. I liked it. I was on a different theory when I saw the 13 people there. This is also counting the little girl. But then, without the little girl, you had 12 people there. So, that kind of killed my theory. But it was nice to see. It was nice to see that representation. Even though I do have two questions for all the three of you. Okay. One, do you think they will somehow link that tinker with Aram, as in that tinker was responsible for killing Aram's parents? That's one question. And then my second question is that the pictures that Anas gave you, there was a 6-star symbol that was in one of those pictures, but it was around, it was in the column of Gildan. So I was wondering if maybe that building was in Gildan as opposed to Amadisia or any place else in the world.
What you're saying. Actually, it was in Murandi.
Either way, whichever one it was, if you bring that up, you can see where that was. So that was my two questions for you guys. So I will sit back and listen to you guys, and all of you have a great Sunday.
Remind me the two questions. So basically, you think the Murandi? I was looking up the image. You think your question is the Murandi, or is the 6-sided symbol on the board representative? Is that where this is at? That was question one. What's the second question?
The second question was, yes, the Tinker lady that the little girl said mom to, would she be somehow connected to the attack that killed Aram's parents?
Okay. There's thank you very much, Norm. As always, sir. Cheers. Awesome to hear you. And we'll see you soon. Talk soon. Bye.
Yeah, take care.
Norm, awesome to hear from you. And we'll bring our next caller in here just almost immediately. What do you think of that board now, Sulin? You see that You see the 6-pointed star there? Yeah. And it's under Murandi. Are we now in this is actually a building in Murandi? Do you think this gives us anything, or do you think no, it's just a random?
It could be. Isn't Palamphane from Murandi? He's from Lugard.
So in Gildan,
is Lugard Murandi?
Gildan has 3 6-sided stars as its sigil. Let me look that up.
I have an answer for the Tinker question.
Go ahead and answer that one. Yeah. Lugard is the capital city of Murandi, right?
Yeah. It could be Palamphaine's house. But what if the Tinker's actually Aram's mum? She didn't die. She just abandoned him.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna ask everyone this. Where's our poll at on this? 112 you voted. Do the cracks point to the Forsaken symbols and their Forsaken merges? That's about a 50-50 answer there. So you got some followers on this one. Kevin, especially I saw, is enchanted by this idea of the Forsaken merges, and I do like this idea. Is this? How about this? If it's a Tinker at the Darkfriend Social, is that person related to Aram in any way? Could be the killing of or not. Yes or no? What do you think? What do you think, Koala? Do you think that is related?
That hadn't occurred to me, and it's another really good rabbit hole that you could go down to think about, did she somehow betray the Tinkers and cause whatever happened that caused the death of his parents? But I'm going to say really hard maybe.
A hard maybe. Okay. A hard maybe is reasonable. I'm going to bring our last caller in. Apologize for making them wait. They're calling long distance. Let me bring him in. Hey, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
This is Stubble McShave.
Stubble's here. Stubble, okay, you're our last caller of the day. We're going to be kind of closing up the show here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Tell us, what are your thoughts here on, first of all, Give me a yes or no. Did you think this was a good adaptation of the Darkfriend Social?
I think it was a good adaptation because I don't see how they could do it as the books, because we are always inside in Boar's head, and he thinks about the clothes and brings his knowledge to it, and we don't have, as the audience, we don't have any knowledge to bring to anything of this. The average audience. So you have to introduce the same concept in a different way, and I think they did a good job when it came to that.
Okay, and what is the topic? What's either the theory or the part of the Darkfriend Social or any of the news that came out recently that you called about and you wanted to discuss?
Oh, I wanted to talk about the introduction of Forsaken that you brought up earlier, when they will be introduced.
Yeah,
and
go for it.
I can't see Landfair alone releasing the other Forsaken, so I think that Ishamael will release them, but we will probably not see them in season 2. But maybe if they are threat in season 3, then we will see them in the last episode of season 2 to set up them as a threat. Like the Shanshan was set up at the end of season 8, episode 8 of season 1.
Okay. What do you think is, as far as the seal stuff that Koala has put together, are you a fan? Are you a believer in this seal cracks equal, the seals are pointing, or the cracks in the seal are pointing to the Forsaken and their Forsaken merges?
I think it's a theory. It's a possible theory, but I wouldn't bet amounts pay on it. But it's certainly a theory that could be possible. Okay.
I think that's a good that's a fair thing to say at this point. Stubble, as always, thank you very much for calling. What do you think is the next? What do you think the next thing is that we're going to get dropped here this week? We've gotten so far. We got some. I think originally that first week we got some looks, some additional kind of looks at costuming, at the characters. Then we got a drop of a scene. Are we going to get music this week? Are we going to get what do we think we're going to get now, since we have just a few more Wednesdays before the premiere?
We may get music. I don't know if we'll get the second trailer, but if we'll get the second trailer, it should be rather soon. But music is certainly possible.
Okay. I think that
but
I would
I
like
had
that.
a question
Yeah, go
for
it.
you.
Yeah.
I had a question for you about the Forsaken.
Okay.
When do you think we'll see the other Forsaken introduced in the show? Will we see any other Forsaken in season 3? Because the storylines that, if they follow the book, there are not that many Forsaken in those storylines. And I was wondering if we'll see them in season 3, or if we will not see them until season 4. What do you think?
How which Forsaken? You just mean just any other other than Landfear?
Yeah, because we have Landfear. I assume that Ishamael will perish in this season. But which do you think could be introduced in season 3?
Yeah, good question. Instead of me answering this, Sulin, what do you think we're going to, if from a Forsaken standpoint, who would you like to see introduced in season 3? Who do you think makes the most sense as for what we've seen is going to happen in season 2?
Has to be McGideon.
Okay.
Has to be Asmodean. And maybe Samael. That's who I would put. If you think Nynaeve storyline, Wonder Girls in Tanchico. You've got the Waste, if it's going to be a Shadow Rising storyline.
Okay.
And Samael, just because he goes on for ages, so you've got to introduce him at some point.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. I think you're right. I mean, Moghedien could make. I mean, I guess I want Moghedien to be introduced this season, but not necessarily kind of called out as who Moghedien is.
Yeah.
But revealed that Moghedien is
Yeah.
Moghedien in the next season, I think makes sense. I think Asmodean definitely makes sense. And I wonder how many more you could put in there before it. I think Ravine or Samael, depending on who they give us, does make sense there. Koala, for you, who do you think our season 3 Forsaken reveals are?
I would say Grendel and not Grendel, sorry, Megiddian and Asmodean. I don't think they can pack more than 2 into a season. So I think that they're the big 2. And then you said, would it be like Samael or Raven? And that's my last little slide is
Okay.
And can I just say, when I say that they're merging Forsaken, I don't mean the people, I mean the roles that were taken on in the books. And so I think that Raven's arc will be merged into Samael, because I don't think Morghese is going to get the story that she had in the books. And therefore I think that Samael and Raven is too much to have these 2 Forsaken that are plotting and taking over the politics and running of countries. I think that Samael is going to be a lot more creepy, because I think he's going to take on a lot of Raven's characteristics.
Did that kind of drive why you thought that symbol connected with Samael, because you kind of put them together and you thought that would merge those 2, and you saw those 2 cracks going to that symbol and you were like, I think that fits better?
No, it was the bees. It was the bees.
Oh, it was the bees. It wasn't like the other way around. Okay.
The bees made it Samael, and therefore, and I never saw Raven even suggested as being one of the statues in Steppen's little kit of Forsaken. And so it seemed to me that Raven therefore would be the logical one to merge his creepiness into the political machinations that Samael was doing.
Okay. Yeah. No, by the way, thank you so much for bringing that to us. That was fun. I know we did a little recap for those that had already kind of seen this happening on Twitter, a recap of kind of those symbols and what they mean. And I know we're going back and forth. It'll be interesting. I want to go see who Kevin and others have kind of pointed out. And also Lauren had a really good image. I think he put together the symbols, kind of turned them around so they were all kind of right set up. I'll try to show that.
Yep.
There is by the way, if you happen to be in chat, there's a giveaway there. If you want to join in, you have an opportunity to jump in there. It's !raffle. Only do it once. You only count as once, and we'll do a giveaway here in the next couple minutes. I'm going to end this poll. If it's a tinker at the Darkfriend Social, that person related to Aram. And anyway, 65% of you said no. So there's some kind of people out there, a number of you that are connecting those 2 points. Sulin, was there anything else for you where all the news that came in? There is, for those of you that have been watching the news just yesterday, to Hamed out there, just got married. It looked like I saw a lot of the cast down there with him. Congratulations. Hamed, if you don't know, plays Loyal, and also was here as a guest judge for Wheel of Time Idol, like almost a year and a half ago now, which is crazy. It's been that long. So congratulations from the Dusty Wheel, and I'm sure from all the fans here. If you want to go see those images, a lot of the cast are sharing those images. They're fantastic. Looks like everyone was having a wonderful time. So congratulations to you, Hamed. Not that you'll never see this, but if you ever hear, hopefully you had a wonderful, wonderful day, and to a wonderful life to you and your bride. Cheers. Anything else, Sulin, from a news standpoint, the things that dropped that you thought were interesting that we just didn't get to today?
Trying to remember what dropped now. I feel like the entire week has been on breaking down but I guess just the interaction that was on Twitter as to how we got to that bit. So all the likes and the little clip with the old tongue that we figured out in about 3 minutes.
The old tongue clip was like, what did it say? Do you recall what that said?
It was 108 and 201. Yeah, and it was so funny because I saw it kind of out of the corner of my eye. I was like, there's some number thing happening. Everyone immediately, not everyone, but I saw a couple of people on Twitter were like, well, this is obviously the episode number. I was like, I don't think I would have ever gotten there. So to all of you that are crazy and we're breaking that stuff down,
gave us a head start, right? It kind of they went, I think, live with some news about it the next day, but if you were tracking it, you could have known about it a little bit earlier, like some of the fans that were looking into it, and immediately saw reactions to it. So that was a lot of fun seeing people kind of jump in there and see this and go through it. Just a final note for everyone out there and for you two, do you think there is symbolism to this one being knocked down on the ground? Like there's a bunch standing up. Do you think these are actually the seals, or do you think this is just kind of representative of things that are happening, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like if you had a chessboard in your house that you were using to like plot a battle. It's symbolic.
You think that's not okay? Because there's a moment where it almost seems like the little girl can turn things on this. Do you think that these are meant to appear to be like that they can shift at all? Because it's like she puts her hands on it as though she's about to kind of move it, and then she hears the Trolloc from behind her and runs in. Do you think these were meant to be? We're trying alluding to these things as like they're like movable puzzles in some way. I
would not be surprised if we saw the seal again. It got a turn, and that's where Lanfear in the Covered in Blood appears from.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's
interesting.
If they go back here, maybe I'll ask this last poll here. Do you think we'll return to this location again in season 2? Yes or no? Okay. I will say this. I thought the Pat and Fane thing was a little bit corny. I was like, he's kind of grinning at the girl. I was like, but then someone brought this up, and I was like, okay. Everyone else seems stable where they're at. Like, they're not moving at all. At all. He's the only one that moves. And it did make me go like, okay, I wonder, because you have this moment in the actual books where Shamael's like talking. And when he kind of like, they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, and then obviously he kind of engages with one of them. And they're like, they can't move. And he's like, basically, I think about it like the Batman scene in the first one where Scarecrow gets like a whiff of it, and then Batman's yelling at him. That's how I imagine like a Shamael like in their minds. It does seem like they're kind of like frozen, and then he isn't. And so it did make me wonder if they were trying to say like he's not frozen because he has some additional help these days. He has some additional powers and capabilities. So then I was like, okay, that if that was the kind of nod to that, okay, because it did feel a little bit like, I don't know, too grinny, too like twirly mustache. He's the villain kind of guy.
Yeah.
It was creepy, but
I guess for like it's showing that these are dark people. Like you know that a Shamael's there, and it's like, oh, here's another guy that we know is a baddie. I guess it's more just hammering it home that it's the Darkfriend Social.
And I know Kevin pointed this out. Because I would agree with that. And Kevin, I think, had like a ton of theories about Pat and Fane out there. I just haven't had time to go through them. So I'll have to, if you go look up Pat and Fane theories, check out Kevin on Twitter Time, and you'll be able to find those. I'm going to close entries. Thank you very much for those that entered. And good luck. I should pick a winner here if I can. Why can't I find it? I might have to have my fellow innkeeper. Hold on a second. Why can't I get to pick the winner? It's not showing up. This is why I always need Taylor to help me out here. That's hilarious. Yeah. Anas, if you're out there and you see this. Oh, there it is. It's so weird. I had the window kind of too small. Shadowleaf, congratulations. Shadowleaf, you have won some Dusty Wheel swag. So reach out to me on Discord or on social media. You can find us, just reach out for the Innkeeper, ask, or again, just reach out on direct message over Twitter, other social media. You can find the links in the video itself. But congratulations, Shadowleaf. I don't feel like I've seen the name Shadowleaf here. So hopefully you're still here. And basically I'll send you a gift certificate to our store on Zazzle, and you can grab yourself a mug. You just need to send me your email address, and we'll get that to you here in the next bit. So congratulations to you, and thank you both for being here. I know it took us a little bit long today. Appreciate it. And before I go, I wanted to remind everybody, Wednesday is the Flickverse show. Sulin and a group. Can you name everybody that's involved? It's like a huge group of fans that are doing this. Yeah, who's all part of this? So
there's 7 of us. There's Uno, Agonor, Rob, Makia Talks, me, Andrew, Bard of Time, Camille from Quiz of Time, and Goat Brother. Also 7 different Europeans joining forces.
Yeah, it's
and
it's a show.
Brilliant.
It's a show during the time that those of you that struggle to get here while you're still awake, or this is it's a great time to be there. And Koala, and the link, by the way, is in chat. If you want to just make sure you save that link. Koala, thank you very much for taking us down the rabbit hole that was your mind with that seal. That was a lot of fun. We didn't get to everyone's theories out there.
So much fun.
We just never have enough time for that. But we'll come back this Wednesday. Expect us to be covering whatever news that happens, and we'll be back that Wednesday night. We're doing kind of 2 shows on Wednesdays, and so we'll be doing that again. And Flickverse show is, for those of you in the U.S., is at 1 p.m. Eastern. Sulin, what time is the show for those of you that may be in Europe?
So it's 6 p.m. UK time or 7 p.m. Central European time.
There you go. Please do like if you enjoyed us, please do like the video as you make your way out. Thank you all for showing up on a Sunday and being geeky with us about all this stuff. Hopefully you had fun just down my little kind of rabbit hole, just learning what happened that I missed. That was a lot of fun for me, so thanks for showing up for that. Appreciate that, everybody. And as we share on here, good afternoon from the Dusty Wheel, and smash to black.
Welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. You went right to kill it. Look at you, you're all ready. You're just done. I mean, this is like this is
really well. And now I'm like, great, my turn.
And if you don't like that, and you want to say, well, Robert Jordan could have made the 2 rivers all white. He could have, but he didn't. So,
just complimented me on my dress, and as you can clearly see, I'm
sad.
not
I see Lukomi as something along the lines of a Shada Haran analog.
It does make sense why it outlasted the breaking.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have Therese in the show, because she's going to correct everything that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dusty Wheel Show. What? Meme Off Challenge! Yay!
Terrible, like baby face mounted on like a huge body. So like all of a sudden,
this is not just a traditional fantasy, right? There are sci-fi elements.
And just a moment ago, Rafe tweeted something. So let me get my guests in here with me, and
probably I would say put in 70-80% of the work. I got to be over the shoulder and be like, no,